Welcome to the channel. Today we will talk about the aircraft that became a symbol of the jet age and a turning point in the history of air combat, the MiG-15. How it appeared, what it had, and why it became a legend. After World War II, the world was looking for a new answer to increasing speeds and altitudes. When creating the first jet fighters, Soviet designers faced the problem of a lack of powerful and reliable jet engines. A new stage in the development of Soviet aircraft construction began with the purchase of Rolls-Royce Derwent and Rolls-Royce Nini turbojet engines from England. The appearance of new engines allowed the Soviet Union to begin creating a new generation of jet fighters. Later, the innovations of English engine manufacturing were successfully copied and put into serial production. In 1947, the MiG-15 began to take shape in the design bureau of Mikoyan and Gurevich the fighter, designated I-310 and given the factory code C, was to have very high flight characteristics, a maximum speed of 1,000 kilometers per hour at ground level and 1,020 kilometers per hour at an altitude of 5,000 meters. The time to climb to an altitude of 5,000 meters was 3.2 minutes. The practical ceiling was 13,000 meters, and the range was 1,200 kilometers when flying at an altitude of 10,000 meters at the most favorable speed. The takeoff run was to be 700 meters and the landing run 800 meters. Its armament was to consist of 3 cannons, one 45mm and two 23mm. On December 30th, 1947, the aircraft, piloted by test pilot Viktor Yuganov, made its first flight. During state tests conducted between May 27th and August 25th, 1948, the MiG-15 aircraft received high marks. Subsequently, this fighter was designated the MiG-15 and became the most mass-produced jet aircraft in the history of aircraft construction. More than 15,000 aircraft were produced, which entered service with the Soviet Air Force and Air Defense Forces, as well as the air forces of about 40 other countries. Design and technological solutions. The MiG-15 is a single-seat frontline fighter, an all-metal mid-wing aircraft with a swept wing and swept horizontal tail located on the keel. The airframe is made of aluminum alloys with extensive use of steel. On the MiG-15, the engine was located in the rear part of the fuselage. The fuselage is a semi-monocoque structure divided into 2 compartments, front and rear. The front compartment houses the weapons, avionics, and the pressurized cockpit. The cockpit is covered by a teardrop-shaped canopy. The canopy consists of 3 segments. The front fixed visor of the canopy is fitted with flat armored glass. The middle movable part of the canopy slides back. The cockpit is equipped with an ejection seat. For the first time, the fighter was equipped with onboard fire extinguishing equipment and a fire warning system. The engine air intake was located in the nose of the front fuselage compartment, which enclosed the pilot's cockpit on both sides. The tail compartment of the fuselage housed the engine, fuel system components, and radio equipment. Aerodynamic brakes were installed on the sides of the tail compartment. The wing was swept and consisted of 2 consoles that were joined directly to the fuselage. Each wing console had 1 pylon attached to it, which was used to suspend additional fuel tanks or weapons. The tail unit is traditional, cruciform, a keel with a rudder and a stabilizer with elevators. The landing gear is tricycle with a nose wheel and lever suspension, retractable in flight. All supports are single wheel. The nose wheel is retracted by turning forward into a niche located in the fuselage in front of the pilot's cockpit. The main supports are retracted into the wing by turning towards the longitudinal axis of the fuselage. The wheels of the main landing gear were equipped with pneumatic brakes. The landing gear was retracted and extended by a hydraulic system. The landing gear is designed for operation of the aircraft from dirt airfields. The power plant was an RD-45F turbojet engine with a centrifugal compressor and a maximum thrust of 2,270 kilograms force. The engine was a copy of the British Rolls-Royce Nini engine, which was manufactured in the USSR without a license. Later versions of the MiG-15 fighter were equipped with a more powerful VK-1 engine. Fuel was stored in two fuselage tanks with a total capacity of 1,450 liters. Instrumentation enables flights in simple and complex weather conditions at any time of day, as well as the performance of aerobatic maneuvers. Control was carried out using push rods and rockers. On the latest versions of the MiG-15, hydraulic boosters were introduced into the control system. Armament: two 23mm cannons with 80 rounds each and one 37mm cannon with 40 rounds. The cannons were located at the bottom of the fuselage in the nose section. For easy reloading, the cannons were mounted on a special removable carriage that could be quickly lowered using a winch. The MiG-15 participated in many military conflicts. The main war and moment of glory in the history of the MiG-15 was the Korean War. It was the first war in aviation history to involve jet engines and the first air battle between jet aircraft. The North Korean Air Force was completely destroyed in the first few months of combat operations. And by mid-autumn 1950, the UN Air Force had achieved air superiority. To provide air cover for the Chinese army that had entered the war, the USSR sent the 64th Fighter Air Corps, armed with MiG-15s, to China. On November 1st, they engaged in their first battle with American aircraft, which came as a complete surprise to the U.S. Air Force, which did not expect to encounter the latest Soviet fighter. The American F-80s used until then were inferior to the MiGs in speed due to their straight wings. To combat the new aerial enemy, the recently commissioned F-86 Sabres were urgently sent to the Far East. From late December 1950 until the end of the war in July 1953, the MiG-15 and F-86 became the main adversaries in the skies over Korea. The MiG and Sabre had roughly the same flight characteristics. The MiG-15 had an advantage in vertical maneuverability and armament, but was inferior to the Sabre in avionics and horizontal maneuverability. The lack of anti-G suits in the MiG-15 pilot's equipment significantly reduced the aircraft's combat capabilities during maneuvers. American pilots flying the F-86 Sabre had such suits which allowed them to perform maneuvers with higher G-forces for longer periods of time than pilots flying the MiG-15. However, an important advantage of the Sabres was the presence of a radio rangefinder in the sighting system, which allowed them to fire with high accuracy. Yevgeny Pepelyaev is considered the most successful pilot, with 23 aerial victories to his credit. The MiG-15 performed excellently during interceptions of B-29 bombers, against which the aircraft was actually designed to operate. In two battles in March-April 1951, the MiGs managed to inflict heavy damage on B-29 groups in the Chinese-Korean border area. At the end of October 1951, after a new series of losses from MiG actions, the U.S. Air Force was forced to completely stop using B-29s during daylight hours. Until the end of the war, these bombers operated mainly at night. It is difficult to determine the true number of victories and losses of the MiG-15 in Korea. This issue is still a matter of debate. According to Soviet data, the air forces of the USSR, the PRC, and the DPRK shot down 1,377 enemy aircraft of all types in Korea, while losing 566 of their own aircraft. The MiG-15 was an excellent fighter, light and maneuverable, and also had high climb rate, maneuverability, and reliability characteristics, which made it possible to perform the most difficult air combat tasks. Today, the MiG-15 and its two-seater modification are popular among military aviation collectors and are used for air shows. Friends, if you liked the video, please like it and subscribe to the channel.